NFL Week 2, we're talking primetime standalone games. In this video, I'll be breaking down both Sunday night and Monday night games. Starting with the Sunday night game, we got Bears-Texans. The market tried to get to -7 for Houston, but Chicago money came in and forced it back. So we can assume it won't get back there after the sportsbooks kind of tested to see how far they could push the Texans. I don't know what to make of this Bears offense, to be honest. Part of me wants to just disregard the game that he had last week and the performance by Caleb Williams, um, and chalk it up to a rookie QB making his debut. But watching the game back, it's tough to ignore some things. It's not like this Titans defense is just, really good. You really couldn't even ask for a better opponent when making a debut as a rookie quarterback. And now it doesn't get any easier going on the road on primetime against a defense that has boatloads more talent than Tennessee. And this is a Houston defense that's going to make a lot of quarterbacks look bad this year. QB's much better than Caleb Williams, and I think some people might be sleeping on this Texans defense after allowing the Colts putting up 27 points. But I'm telling you, this Colts defense with Shane Steichen is just different. Can't really explain it with this Bears offense, but just doesn't seem like the offensive scheme or what they're trying to do fits Caleb Williams' strengths. And what's weird is the offense on the field last week was actually a lot different than what they showed in preseason. I think teams try to pull like an okie doke and it backfires by showing a completely different look in preseason instead of just working on what they're going to actually run in the regular season. I won't be involved in this game besides player props. I do want to see what's going on with Rome Odunze, who's dealing with a lower body injury, and Keenan Allen, shocker with him. He has an injury. I think it's like a foot or heel or something. And this is what I really like about not being someone that relies on selling picks. I can just simply pass on a primetime game and it makes no difference. Don't you find it funny how pick sellers always have big upgraded lock of the years on primetime games? It just always seems to line up that way. What a coincidence. Their biggest bets are on primetime. Of course I'm being sarcastic. It's obviously so they can just sell more picks. It's just a scummy pick teller tactic. But let's talk about Monday night. Falcons, Eagles. This looks like a classic Week 2 overreaction spot. Since 2010, right? Teams coming off a Week 1 win, like Philly, playing against a team that lost Week 1, like Atlanta. That team that's 1-0, which is Philly, is just 45, 64, and 3 against the spread in those Week 2 games. And the reason's simple. The line gets inflated on the team who won Week 1 playing versus a team that lost in Week 1. And we are just seeing clear, one-sided, lopsided betting public action on Philly. Over 90% of the bets as of this recording and money is on Philly, which is lopsided even when you consider last week's performances by both teams. Everyone watched the Eagles on Friday night, prime time, and all their big-name skill players, they looked great on their way to putting up 34 points. Then, 2 days later, see the Falcons get shut out in the second half in a game they had 3 turnovers in while losing at home to the Steelers. The betting public is just heavily influenced by what they saw most recently. So with all this action on Philly, why haven't the sportsbooks just moved to -7 already? That'd be the logical question. There is a couple factors holding this number in place, at least as of now anyway. One being that it's already moved so much from the opener of -4. Sportsbooks have to worry about their liability at certain numbers. We know they've taken a bunch of money on Philly -4. So let's just say they decide to move to -7. This would surely invite Falcons money. I know I'd be a buyer at +7 on the Falcons, but if the sports books adjusted to 7, they would have to worry about getting middled. If the outcome lands on a Philly win of 4, 5, 6, or 7, they'd get buried. This is probably the worst possible outcome for sports books, and it's the penalty they pay for posting openers that are way off from where it closes. Avoiding getting middled is probably the main reason we haven't seen Philly go to -7 yet. But they might end up being forced to if they continue to get this one-way action, and if the teaser liability keeps growing, which I assume is already massive on the Eagles. How many bettors are going to tease Philly just needing them to win at home versus a Falcons team that looked awful last week? But teams are never as bad as their worst performance. It's not like Atlanta's lacking talent. They returned all 5 starting offensive linemen from last year. They got a solid running back in Bijan Robinson, receivers Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and I like their defense. They didn't allow a TD last week, and think the additions of Matthew Judon and Simmons, this defense is going to finish rated pretty high or well above league average with top 10 upside, I'll say. I'm not going to go out on a limb too much, but I do think the Falcons offense is better than it looked last week versus the Steelers. The Steelers defense was able to take advantage of a tell from the Falcons center who was telegraphing the snap. He would bob his head right before he snapped the ball when Cousins was in shotgun, and this allowed the Steelers defense to time the snap perfectly and get a jump off the line of scrimmage super quick. Assuming the Falcons solve this or are aware of this, I mean, if I am, they are, should result in improvement this week. The Falcons having 3 turnovers in Steeler territory obviously didn't help their offensive output, and you would assume they clean that up. Plus, this isn't exactly the best situational spot for Philly, coming back from the Brazil game where they played on a bad turf field that players described was like playing on concrete. I think I lean towards the over in this one. This Eagles offense is really good. I don't know how teams game plan against it. They just have so many weapons. They're so versatile. And I think the Eagles are really a perfect over team with how good their offense is. Their defense is behind where it needs to be. And I think this has a lot to do with being a new scheme change under Vic Fangio taking over and how difficult his defenses are to grasp, especially when you have a lot of younger guys on the Philly defense. So I lean over. If this line got to 7, I'd probably bet Falcons. Even though I've seen a lot of strong cases and evidence that Kirk Cousins is still dealing with issues from his Achilles injuries, which is concerning, but as of now, I haven't bet anything anyway. But not the best week for a primetime game previews. Don't really have much of a strong opinion, but hopefully you guys find this stuff helpful or informative. If you want access to all the plays I'm betting when I make them, join the Betting Network Discord. The invite link is in the description below this video. That's it for this one. Until next time, good luck with your bets.